busy guy, based on everything that I see, based on a meeting. Remember, I went to your office at 7 o'clock in the morning. I
Yeah.
will never forget. You had a meeting with your team,
Yeah.
okay? And your lovely wife, she's 9 months pregnant, ready to give birth, and she's up there leading the meeting, like coaching the team,
Yeah.
and I'm there in the back sitting like, it's 7 o'clock in the morning, and she's doing her thing,
Yeah.
and I really respect that and admire that. And
Me
I
too.
knew then I was like, wow, I'm gonna love working for this team because in this market, it's never stopped, right? It's never stopped. I think now it's kind of before when I first started in the industry, you have fax machines, you had email was just becoming, very popular, but you had your 8 to 5, right? And after 5, there's really not much you can get done. But I think now it's 24 hours. If you got a computer or a phone, you're gonna get things done.
Yeah.
What I know about you, Tony, is that you're a top producer. Okay, you're one of the best out there. But you're also a family man. I'm in a faith. You're a father and a husband. Okay, I see you attending different events, not just for real estate, but to help others, to help kids, to continue your faith. You attend a men's group also. Um, you also, I see a lot of family events that you do. My question is to you, how do you do it, my man?
One step at a time,
You make it sound so easy, but tell us that step at a time, man, because I'm just like fascinated by that.
So I'm a big fan of not overcomplicating things too much, prioritizing what's most important. So I think it was Brian Tracy who has this, he has this saying, it's, the 5 pillars of life. You've got your faith, your spiritual life, you've got your family, you've got your work, you've got your friends, and you've got your health, mental and physical. And I live off my calendar, right? It's time blocking and just making room for what's most important. So I've been involved in Mike Ferry coaching now for almost 10 years. And I've just been blessed with a lot of wise men who've gone down this path before me. And I've had a lot of mentors along the way that have really helped shed light on what's most important and making the most out of the best and the least out of the worst and majoring in the majors, minoring in the minors. So yeah, in essence, it's, one step at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
But did you find it difficult though? Because I know you mentioned about prioritizing.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you handle that? I mean, let's say you have a listing appointment that's gonna pay the bills essentially, right? But yet here you have a family function. How do you balance those two?
Yeah.
Because it's like on one hand you have to pay the bills,
Yeah.
and the other hand you have to be with your family.
Yeah.
How do you prioritize that situation?
Well, number one, through coaching, I've just been trained on pre-qualifying people. So one of the biggest things is not wasting time where, you're going out on an unqualified appointment or you're just chasing the next deal, so to speak. It's living out of a place of abundance. So I have enough. And if I respect people, people respect me. If I'm loyal, it's a two-way street. And family functions at the beginning of the week, I always look at the calendar. Me and my wife, we like to sit down. We go on dates once a week, and we like to sit down at least once a quarter to kind of go over the vision and the plan for the year.
Wow.
And we'll take the calendar. I look at my whole year at the beginning of the year, and I like to check in at least once a month and say, what do we got going on? And the family comes before the work. So if I've got a family function that's going in the calendar, and now when I'm speaking with a customer, I'm booked at that time. I'm available at this time or this time. And you just give them options and it works out.
Right. I think that sometimes people are afraid, and I'm telling you from experience, right? Because sometimes in any business, not just this one, you have to keep performing. The one call that you miss could be your potential next deal. The one appointment that you couldn't make could have been your potential next deal. And I love your mindset in the sense of like, it is what it is. this is my time. This is what I'm blocking, and I'm living in an abundance. But it takes a lot for somebody to get to that level.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, because if I look back, I wasn't always that way. In the beginning, work was just, it took first place. Before I had a family, before I found my faith, it was, when I came here, my mentor and coach who brought me here, he slid me a just listed and just sold script and a yellow book. And he was like, this is all I want you to do all day. So I literally did that for 7 to 8 hours a day. Eventually I came to the realization where I'm out of the results department. I can only control what I can control. And if I do my best and forget the rest and just come to a full acceptance of wherever the pieces may lie, if God wanted to, he could flip the switch and just give me an abundance of business. And if he wanted to, he could take it away. It's up to me to trust in him that as long as I'm doing my best, I'm working on the things I can work on, I'm respecting my time, respecting my schedule, and then just put the results in his hands. He's been faithful to me.
Wow. And that's actually my next question. One thing I know about you, you do a lot of events for the community. You belong to a men's church group. Also, I believe, was it 2 years ago now or 2 years ago, you came to me because we have this cool barbecue pit.
Cool.
And then you mentioned that you're also a youth leader for your church. And you mentioned that the kids last year during the camp were not really happy with the hotel's food, and some of them even got sick, if I'm not mistaken. So we did that event for the kids. So we went over to Mesquite. Well, I think it was May.
Summer camp.
Summer camp, right? And how has your faith defined you and helped you in your journey so far? Because that's one thing that every time you and I go to a lunch or sit down, your faith is what I feel keeps you grounded and balanced. Is that the case?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's everything to me. God has been so good. He's blessed me with such an abundance. Like, we often underestimate all the like just the fact that we're here, we're breathing, we're still here when many other people can't. If you just look at the miracle of life, it's just so abundant. But I'm a big believer that God has blessed me to be a blessing. I'm just a vessel where he can work through me. And when I take my hands off the steering wheel and start to let him drive, it's just amazing because he, just like any loving father, he wants way more for me than I want for myself. So that's my perspective on it. The kids, I'm a big fan of it's good to be inspired, but it's better to be an inspiration. So
love it.
When I approach, and it wasn't even my idea, a lot of the stuff that I step into, it's 9 out of 10 times, it's not something that I had planned for myself. It wasn't my choice to step into youth ministry. It was my mentor. He said, hey, I think you'd be great at this. And God opened doors. And I just stepped through them. And it's been such a blessing to watch the journey, starting from a crazy 6th grader, going all the way up in through high school, of these kids who they want to know more about Jesus and have a relationship with him. And just to be a part of that it's just been a blessing to witness what God, his hand moving through all that.
Oh, I mean, it's amazing that, the time you give to help out. To me, I always find that fascinating about you. And I remember one time, my family, we were all at home. I believe we were tired. We were sick. And I remember you called me up and said, Vic, what's your favorite food? What do you guys want for lunch? We're going to send you guys something, and that touched me very deep because, sorry, man, I'm getting a little, because, at that point, my wife and I, nothing crazy was going on, but for us, it was crazy. We didn't know what to do. And you and Angela called us, hey, we're going to send something. And then within 30, 45 minutes, there was breakfast and lunch delivered to our house. But, you have no idea how much help that was. You know, when you're in a crazy situation, like those little things matter so much to people. And that's why, like, I just feel that we just got to be nice to everybody because we don't know what type of day they're having.
Yeah.
What you can say one thing, and the one thing that you say
Yeah.
is going to change their entire day. Even now with this podcast, I bet you people that are watching, one thing that you said or I say, it's going to say, you know, wow, it makes a difference. And I do that all the time. I go to YouTube and TikTok, and sometimes I'm like, man, I'm not the only one going through something. I'm not one special. And I think sometimes we feel kind of special. Oh, we're going through this. No, there's a lot of people going through different stuff. So, wow. Yeah, man. Oh, you got me. I was gonna make you cry. You almost made me cry here for a little bit.
Yeah, we often underestimate how small acts of kindness can just have ripple effects
Right.
that we never get a chance to see.
Right. I agree. Let's talk about a little bit about social media for a little bit. I want to get your take on this. Okay.
Okay.
Me, I personally think social media helps a lot, but I also feel that it can be bad.
Yeah.
And like with the example that I give is nothing. I don't have nothing against coaching or anybody that does that, but I believe sometimes the imaging on social media makes people feel like, man, I should be in a different spot.
Yeah.
You know, I should have been doing this, or if I'm not grinding 24/7, then I'm not being successful. And I think that's the wrong messaging to me.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it?
So to connect a dot here, because we were talking about men's groups and you're talking about comparison when you're talking about social media. One of the reasons I'm such an advocate for men sharpening other men is for that right there. We tend to live out of this place of comparison. We just naturally compare ourselves. A lot of times it's usually to somebody who's above us. We rarely do it to people who are below us in a positive light. But iron sharpens iron the same way when you're comparing yourself to this perfect fake image that you tend to see out there, it can be destructive, right? So who and what you're comparing yourself to really matters. In our brokerage, we have this crush the competition phrase. It's like crush the competition. But along this journey of crushing the competition, the truth is the competition is not out there. The competition is in here. The competition is in here. It's in your heart. It's in your mind. You're competing against yourself every day. So I'm a big fan of social media in the sense that it's great for branding. You're staying in front of your, as a real estate agent, I'm helping add to the top of mind awareness within the community, which is needed to run a successful business. That's a component of it. I also love it because I get to stay in touch with my grandma and my abuelitas and people I haven't seen in a long time, and I can somewhat see what's going on in their life. But it's extremely dangerous, especially for youth. If you're not using social media properly, it can be extremely destructive when you're comparing yourself to this false sense of reality.
Right. Yeah. Right. I was talking to my brother a couple weeks ago, and I actually wrote down. I have a section on my phone. It's saying things my brother said, and he was having an off day that day, and I'm like, the first thing that comes to my mind, hey, let me send you this guy that I just listened to, and my brother says, stop. I'm like, what? It's like, listen. It's like, I don't need that right now. I need to get out of this on my own with my own thoughts. And I'm like, but yeah, this person, he's like, Vic, stop. And he put it to me this way. He's like, how do I know the guy you're going to send me or these motivators, if they gone through what I'm going through right now? By all means, they can just be saying that. I don't know what they gone through. And then he put it to me like this, which I never thought of it like this. He's like, Vic, when you go to the gym and you forget your headphones, what do? And I'm like, well, I'll either go back home because my mind now thinks I cannot work without the headphones, or if I decide to just push the workout, I'm not going to have the same workout. So then he goes like this. It's like, go to the gym next time and train your mind to work without headphones, and you'll see. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm training my mind to get out of this situation without any exterior influences. I want to do this on my own. I want to calm my mind and not have any headphones.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, what a great analogy.
So a few thoughts on this, because I could take this in a couple of different
Ooh,
directions. It's kind
tell
of
me.
exciting.
Tell me.
So there's a lesson for every season. Seasons change. There are seasons where quieting the mind is a skill that we need to harness, right? It's like a muscle that we need to develop. So it's why I'm such a big fan of God time early in the morning, silencing all the thoughts so you're controlling your mind. Because you either control your mind or your mind's going to control you. And at the same time, Juan, owner of Century 21, the guy that brought me out here, one of my first mentors, he taught me, be a student of many, but a follower of few. You can learn something from everyone, but you have to be careful not to follow everyone.
Wow.
Jim Rohn, I'm a big Jim Rohn guy. I listen to Jim Rohn on a consistent basis, and he says, a good thought will hardly ever come to you. You got to go out and look for it.
Wow.
They don't just come out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's so true.
The good book talks about wisdom. When it comes to wisdom, you have to go out and search. Yes, there are times where you ask for wisdom, but a lot of times you got to go out there and look for wisdom as well, because it's just like a good thought. So that's why it's a time and a place. There's times where that's extremely important for somebody in a season of their life, and then there's times where it's like I need a good thought.
Right.
I got to get up and I got to go look for it, and usually it's in the good book or it's from some motivational speaker. Come back to me. I got a second thought on that, but it's escaping me.
No, I mean, I think the way you think about things is definitely different, and that's why I really appreciate our conversations, because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, probably I want to say our conversations every time we talk is mainly 80%, 85% just sharpening our skills or what's going on, or just kind of like lifting each other up. 10%, it's business. Like, hey, this is what needs to be done and stuff like that. And I think honestly, those are the relationships that I value and really nourish, because we're living in the world that instant gratification, it's crazy. People want things now, and I'm old school, and I appreciate the little things, and I appreciate like the lunches. I appreciate things that we share. And yeah, man, I mean, this is a pretty good episode. And I'm pretty sure the people listening are going to take a lot from what you just said. But I have one more question for you. How do you want your legacy to be?
How do I want my legacy to look like? That's a very loaded question. When I'm on my deathbed, or I often think of, when it's at the wake and everybody's talking about my life and what I want my kids to remember after I'm gone. Because really that's what matters most to me is not so much my legacy that I leave behind, but it's the examples, the memories that my children will walk with, the impacts that I've made on other people's lives to lead them in the right direction. And I recently saw Ed Milet speak live, and he shared this testimony of his father that really hit me. And the takeaway was, we often think that the very thing that disqualifies us from standing up and speaking out, we often think that thing we shouldn't be sharing with people because it's going to hold us back. But most often, just like in your brother's case, how do I know that this guy's like me? How do I know that he's going through the same thing? That thing that we tend to hold back is often the thing that actually qualifies us from speaking into someone's life. So if I think about what legacy I want to leave behind, ultimately I want my kids to be able to look back and see, it's just really to see Jesus. It's a reflection of him, because I know that if they can see him through me, then they'll be able to follow him and he'll take care of them. So in the end, my legacy, it's not mine. The glory doesn't belong to me. I give up all the glory. It's it's not me. I don't want to be the man on the pedestal that people look back and say, man, he was a great real estate agent. He was a great, no, because I know when I get to the end, the main question for me is going to be, did I have a relationship with Christ? And that's really what I want to be remembered for above all else. I can sell hundreds and hundreds of homes. I used to think that was so important. I used to think that that's all I wanted from life was just to be, if I, and it was a rat race, man. It was like,
Right.
if I could sell 20, man, if I could sell 50, man, if I could sell 100, well, if I could just get to 1 million. And it was always this empty well. It was like having a hole at the bottom of my cup that was always being poured out. And that's not what I want to leave my kids with. So I hope that answers your question.
It does, but I want to ask you a follow-up question on that. Yes, I know that feeling of when I get to this point, I'll maybe slow down a little bit. And yes, then there's a hole in the cup and you just want to keep going and going. How did you get to the point though? Where like you're just like, hey, it is what it is. Because to me, I find it so difficult. And that's one of my biggest challenges. That's one I can't even take a day off without checking an email, checking a phone and stuff like that. Tell me how you do it.
Well,
how did you get to that mentality?
Well, it was a great lesson that I had to learn along the way. So I realized that there is a hole at the bottom of the cup, and it's like, I could go to these men's retreats, church every Sunday, be a fellowship in the community, work hard, be in the office, be in the youth ministry, serve, do all these things, and yet I still always felt spiritually depleted. There was still this sense of irritability, like it's never enough. And I work with one of my mentors, James Blake, on this, and what I realized was there's these things within ourselves that we wrestle with that we often don't show to other people. Dishonesty, envy, laziness, anger, frustration, always focusing on money, just all these things that I wrestled with, right? Resentments were kind of at the top of the list. And I had to come to a place to just work through those things. So I give them all up. It's like because the truth is, if I died tomorrow, what does it all matter? I think about that a lot. If something happened to me tomorrow, what is it all worth? Like, what's the point of it all? I'm doing this so that way I can enjoy life with my family. And it's coming to a place of full acceptance. I know that as long as I do my best, as long as I walk a path of honesty and I let go of my resentments and I live in a disposition of forgiveness and full acceptance, then I'm okay with it.
Wow.
If the mortgage company comes knocking on the door trying to take away the house, I'll be okay. So there's a great there's this old parable where King Solomon wrote the book of Proverbs, one of the oldest books in the Bible, and he went to his scribe and he said, I want you to write down something on one side of the coin and on the other side of this coin and give it to me, something that when I'm feeling like I'm all that and a bag of chips and where my head is a little bit bigger than myself and I'm starting to my ego is really getting in the way, that it'll humble me. And then I want something on the other side that says, well, when life is really, really hard and I'm going through chaos and through all these challenges, I can look at the other side and I can feel at peace. So the scribe goes and then he comes back, and do you know what he put on the coin?
What?
So it was the same thing on both sides of the coin, and it said, this too shall pass.
Wow. So
I say that to myself all the time. If there's a challenge with an escrow or there's something going on, this too shall pass. I don't take it personally. I've learned my job is to be the rock in the transaction. And if I could keep that mindset and overlay it on all of the other aspects of my life, it just brings me a tremendous amount of peace. One, knowing that this too shall pass. And hey, the other thing that I had to learn to do was on a consistent basis is writing down a list of all the things I'm grateful for. Because what happens is we naturally tend to focus on, well, if I had this, or if I just got that, or I don't have this, I deserve that. They stole this from me. If we focus on all those things, what happens is the enemy starts to rob us of our peace. But when I take the time to sit down and write a gratitude list, and as long as I can possibly make it, man, I'm telling you, I'm grateful for things like the iPhone and air conditioning and indoor plumbing, and like it gets that deep.
Yeah.
It really just starts to change your perspective. And when you can change the way you look at the world, your world will start to change.
Wow. Well, with that, thank you so much. I'm pretty sure with today's episode, you're going to change some of your perspective today, because this conversation was very deep and powerful. I want to thank you for it, because I'm taking away some really, really valuable lessons that I felt that I needed today. So thank you so much.
Thank you,
I'm a
Vic.
firm believer that things do happen for a reason. My brother, thank you so much for coming in.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.